Board with Friends, episode 35. Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Card Game.
I mean, I'm not allowed to tell that story because Zach wants to stay on topic.
Stay on topic.
All right, well, we got a little off topic.
Again, 40%. I'm lazy and I'm a mooch. That's what I do.
This is not that kind of podcast.
Welcome to Board with Friends, the podcast about hobby gaming and learning how to defend your significant other from their crazy exes. Honestly, that's all I know about it. Scott Pilgrim.
Well, I was gonna say, like, that's a very valuable life skill. Like,
I
to
guess,
be able,
yeah.
like, it's. Zach, you have no idea how important that is in relationships in the current climate we're in.
I guess Vanessa just doesn't have any crazy exes. I haven't had to do that. No sword fights, no gun fights, nothing.
I envy you. I feel like I have to fight those sorts of things off once in a while.
All right, well, hopefully all those video game skills and things like that have assisted you in it.
Oh, hell, absolutely. It's been great.
Anyway, I'm Zach Dyer, and joining me tonight is Sean Bissonette. All right, anyway, we're here to talk about board games. And, Sean, what have you been playing?
Well, Zach, let me tell you something right now. I've been playing a little thing called the Jackbox Party Pack, but I'm not going to talk about that.
And the podcast is over.
Podcast is over. No, but there is a Jackbox Party Pack 4. We won't talk about it, though. Go look it up yourself. It's great. Anyways, something else I was playing with my family was Telestrations, which is a game that I used to play all the time with my brother and our roommates in my old apartment. I don't remember if I've talked about it on the show. I'm sure I have. It's probably been a while. So as a recap for what Telestrations is, so everybody who is playing is given a word. So it could be, beach day or best day ever or my job or field goal or just some random day or phrase. You then have to draw that thing. You pass it on to the next person. That person guesses what they think the picture you drew was. It goes to the next person. And, it goes round and round and round and round. When it goes all the way around the circle, you award points based on whether or not people drew or guessed the correct thing, and then also what you thought the funniest thing or best thing was that they drew or guessed. So it's not really a winner to this game. It's just like a fun, a fun little free for all thing. Everybody gets to have a good time. You get some good laughs. It's a good game to just kill some time and get a couple of drinks in you and just have a grand old time. I like Telestrations a lot. That's what I got on Telestrations.
I've actually never played Telestrations.
Oh, dude, it's great. You got to play it out. We need to play it one time when you come over soon.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Like, I've played it where you've had maybe 3 to 5 people, but I've also played it when you have like 12 people, and it's just like once you get that many drawings in, like, if you can manage to get somebody to guess what your original word was after like 8 or 9 other people have drawn it, like, that's one of the greatest feelings ever.
So does everybody draw the same thing, or no, everybody's got a card and they have something that they have to draw and then you just keep passing?
Correct. So like, let's say that it was me, you, and my dog. Let's say it's me, you, and Maisie playing.
That's super impressive if Maisie can draw.
I know, right? So it's field. My word's field goal. So I draw, a guy kicking a field goal, and then I pass it along to Maisie, and she guesses what my drawing is, and then you have to, and let's say she, writes field goal. She knows what it is, and then it would go to you. You draw that thing. And then it would go to me, and I can be like, "Good job, guys."
Wait, so she guesses and writes it down, and then I have to draw what she guessed?
Exactly.
So if you drew field goal and she wrote Field of Dreams, and then I drew a baseball field.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, so.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
So it's like
So,
telephone meets. Okay, now I get the title Telestrations. All right,
telephone
cool.
meets Pictionary. Yeah, so it literally is telephone meets Pictionary, and it's a lot of fun.
All right.
It comes with these little dry erase notebooks that you write and you draw in and you pass them along. Everybody has their own word, and it just goes around the circle.
I will have to try that.
It's a great time, dude. I love Telestrations. It's a grand old time.
There's a lot of games like that, that play on Pictionary. There's a couple like Pitcharica and fun titles that I've just never tried them. I've played Pictionary, but I've never played any of these outrageous ones. I'm gonna have to do that someday.
Have you played Monikers yet, either, or no?
I have not. It stares at me at Target whenever I go and look at the game aisle. I always see it there, and I'm like, oh, I should try that game. I've heard Sean mention it a few times, but the price on it, I'm just like, I don't know if it's worth it. Like, I just don't know.
I mean, you need at least, I can't remember if it's 6 or 8 people. Like, you need at least 3 or 4 couples or teams of 2 to play it. The few times that I've played it, it's been good. It's like charades, and basically think of every classic party game all put together, and then that's what Monikers is. There was a My Brother and Me expansion pack that had some Adventure Zone stuff in it that came out 2 or 3 years ago that
I heard about that.
That I haven't been able to get my hands on. But like even the normal base game of Monikers, it's probably been a good year and a half since I've played it. But that's another one that like it's just a good game to play when you have a group of people and you just kind of want to mess around without having to think about too many rules.
Well, all right. That's another one. You own Monikers, right?
My brother does, yeah. So I have easy access to it.
We'll add it to the list of games that we'll someday play.
Heck yeah, man. I'm actually Googling Mabimba Monikers right now. Hold on. Can I get it? I doubt it. But yeah, it doesn't look like I can get it. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, well. Too bad.
All right. Well, first up for me is not a board game.
Okay. Oh, no? Really? No. I'm ready.
No. So a while back, I backed a Kickstarter called The White Box. It was from Gameplaywright. And what it is it comes with a whole bunch of components, like colored cubes, dice, chits, fiddly bits, just stuff. And it also comes with this book. And the whole purpose of this was to give you all the stuff so that you could prototype your own game. Like all the things that you could possibly want or need to come up with a prototype for a game design. And the book was all these essays on game design from actual designers and people in the industry with just, helpful tips and tricks on how to, what you should do when you're first getting started, what you should do when you're ready to create a prototype, how to, successfully do a Kickstarter, or whether or not you should try to bring it to a publisher or not. Like a lot of interesting stuff in there. And I finally opened it up. I had read through the book once already, and but the other day, a couple weeks ago actually, Lily, my oldest daughter, she came up to me and she said that she wanted to make a game. And I thought, oh, that's cool. Like, what's your game idea? And she started telling me her inspiration for the game was actually the mascot of her school, and who is a timber wolf. And so she said she wanted to make this game about going into the woods with Brave, the name of their mascot. I was like, okay. So she described to me what the game was, and I said, you know what? I have this white box. Let me open it up, and let's actually make a prototype of this. So we opened it up, and we, went through the components and everything. And she and I discussed, what types of mechanics she should use. And of course, she being 7, she overloaded it with tons of complexity of, ideas. And I said, all right, we need to refine this. Like, let's just pick a couple things and let's go from here. And we just, started adding stuff in. We drew out a board, and we were using different chits and components. And she really wanted to have dice because she wanted to have dice for rolling and moving. I'm like, all right, we'll try it. But that's the idea of prototyping. Right. What's that?
I said I'm rolling dice right now. It's so much fun.
I bet you are. So it was neat because we were able to add stuff in and take stuff out and give each other ideas, and eventually we actually built a working prototype for the game. It's not perfect. It's got some, we're going to change a few things, but we worked on it for a couple hours, and she was really happy, and she wants to go back and keep working on it. She apparently went to her school and talked to all her friends and asked them if they would play test it. She asked her principal if he would play test it. So she's got a cool idea, and I'm actually really excited for it. I'm waiting for another day where she and I can actually sit down and work on it again. It's difficult because having 2 kids, my youngest has to be involved with everything. So she was really a little jealous that I was spending so much time with her sister and not with her. Excuse me. So she really wanted to, join in. So we let her, watch, and, when we were ready for playtester feedback, we would ask her opinion on stuff. But, but it was neat. If you are interested in prototyping, this is a really neat tool. I was impressed by how much stuff came with it. All the, it came with just all these little things that, I would think are necessary for it. I mean, you can make prototypes out of anything, I guess, like just stuff lying around the house, but this was just fun to have it all in a box. And the essays are great, great resource for information.
I'm looking at the Kickstarter right now just because I hadn't really heard of this. I'm looking at all the random components that you get, and the die, and the little punch out the punch outs and coins and all this stuff, and like that's actually really cool. So it's like, I mean, obviously I'm going to equate everything to video games because that's more my wheelhouse. But like, it's like Mario Maker or Little Big Planet or Project Spark or all these other sorts of games where like, hey, like here's the game, make your own game, but like it's for hobby gaming. And I think that's actually a really cool like little tool set for people to kind of experiment with stuff who otherwise maybe wouldn't. People who have like ideas but don't have the resources or maybe the confidence to be like, well, I'm not going to make my own game, but like you can buy this and you can make your own game, and that's really, really neat. Like that's awesome, and that's awesome that Lily's 7 and she's like wants to make a game with you. Like that's so cool. This is actually really cool.
Yeah, I was really happy that it wasn't when she explained to me the rules of what she wanted to do. Once we boiled it down to the actual theme of the game and, the basics that she wanted, I was really happy that it wasn't just like, hey, let's draw this path and then you roll dice to move along the path or whatever. No, she's actually got some really cool ideas in there. I originally backed it because I just had it in my head like, oh, I've had some game ideas. Maybe if I have this, it'll inspire me to do it. And of course, it sat on a shelf for a little while until, my 7-year-old came out and said, I want to make a game. I said, I have the perfect tools right here. It's really neat. I think if anybody's interested in making their own game, they should probably check this out. I'm not sure where it's available to buy. I'm sure if you just look up Gameplaywright and the white box, you could find it. I could look it up right now, but I'm talking. But
I literally just Googled the white box.
That could be dangerous.
And it popped right up with their Kickstarter.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, no, I thought the same. It's gonna, yeah. It was the first thing was a wedding planner called the white box, and the second thing was the Kickstarter page. And the third option was the Gameplaywright website. So it's right there. Just ignore the wedding people unless you want to, plan a wedding.
Yeah, check it out.
Boom.
So, what's next from you?
Well, the next thing for me would be Scoundrel Society, Zach. We played that together, you and I.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. And I liked it a lot. So it was me, you, my brother, Amanda, and our friend, also Amanda. And the idea with Scoundrel Society, please, interrupt me just because I've only played this game once, so I might not explain it as well as I should. Everybody takes the part of a different, thief or, grifter, some kind of scoundrel. And you are essentially at a fancy party and you are trying to steal stuff and bring it with you. So there are some deck building elements, only with the fact that there is a rotating, oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for right now? The active cards you can steal.
Well, it's not so much deck building. You have a hand of actions that everybody has the same actions, but you don't have to all play the same exact action at the same time. So if I'm going to use my sneak card, you could also play the sneak card because it's all simultaneous action selection, and then you reveal what cards were played. And the neat thing is that on the top and bottom of the card, depending if one person played this card or if multiple people played the card, different things will occur.
Sorry, I was clearing my throat.
Yeah.
Yes, there are 5 or 6 of these different cards, and it, like Zach said, they're different whether one or multiple people played them. And there is a rotating board of things that you can steal, and it just goes on and on and on until eventually the constable is pulled, and then the game's over. So ultimately, your goal is to steal these different valuable items while not drawing a whole lot of attention to yourself, which is represented by, I can't remember what it's called. I should have looked it up. I'm so sorry.
It's the fingerprint icon. I don't remember what they called it either, honestly.
It was a fingerprint icon. So ultimately, you're stealing all these different valuable items. They all have different. Different monetary value. Suspicion. Thank you. But if you end up having, all of the most valuable stuff, but you have the most suspicion, then you're automatically the loser. So it's a balance of trying to get valuable items while also not, causing a lot of suspicion for your character. Everybody has their own unique ability that you can use that kind of gives you an edge versus everybody else. And it's a really fun game that you don't need. There's not like a whole lot to the rules, so you can pick it up pretty quickly and play it and have fun with it. And it got unusually competitive because everything. She just got home from work, but everything with Amanda gets unusually competitive. So it was just like she was towards the end of the rotation, so it was always like, well, all the good stuff's already gone. You guys already did this, and it was it got. It's not it is a competitive game, but it's not an inherently hyper competitive game. But if you have a group of people who are kind of screwing one another over on purpose to give yourself a leg up, because ultimately you are all thieves trying to get the best, stuff. It's a really fun game. I enjoyed it a lot. I know that I didn't do a great job explaining it, but I've only played it the one time. I apologize, all the Board with Friends community out there.
I think 3/4 of our view are first impressions, so I think our listeners will forgive you for that.
No, that's a fair point. These are a lot of first impressions. I liked it a lot. I'd play it again, absolutely.
I like the game a lot. It honestly, it's been in my game bag that I got for Christmas 2 years ago now. It's been permanently in my bag, and I just. It hasn't come out in a very long time. And then when we were at that game night and you guys were like, well, let's play something new. I said, you know what? I really like Scoundrel Society. I haven't played this game in a while. Let's play this. So I taught you guys how to play it. It's the items that you can steal, I think, are part of the fun because, they can mitigate and change things. Like they all have, well, not all of them, but a lot of them have special attributes, special abilities if you take the card, or if certain things happen with that item when you steal it, which is pretty cool. Like sometimes they help you get rid of suspicion, sometimes they give you extra suspicion if you're the one taking it from the mark, but if you take it from another player you don't get that. Like lots of weird stuff, and it goes from simple things like jewelry and I don't know, silverware and normal things that you would steal if stealing's a normal thing. Sure. Normal things that you would think that you would steal, to outrageous stuff like, here's an exotic elephant that's pink. Where are you going to put that? A yacht that you could, like the yacht you can't put in your stash. You can't stash it. It has to stay in front of you. It was just outrageous. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say when you stole stuff, you can only have 3 things essentially in your hands. The rest of the stuff you could take actions to stash it away. Once it was in your stash, other people couldn't take it. So the yacht, you can't stash it. It has to stay perpetually in your hand. Is essentially what I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to interrupt you for that.
No, that's fine. This was supposed to be your discussion, so. The other thing I liked is I learned a lot about your girlfriend during this game, particularly how competitive she can be.
Oh yeah, no, you haven't seen anything.
I like when the final scores were revealed, and I got a giant middle finger to my face.
Oh yeah, it was such like every time that she'll sit down and play one of these board games with us, it's always the most it's like everything is the most competitive thing ever. Even if it's not really inherently a competitive game, like even if it's something just like strictly for fun. So like if we are playing, I'm only using this as an example again because it's the only other thing I've played with her, like the Jackbox games. It's literally like or any type of party game, like let's say it's Cards Against Humanity or in any of those basic party games that you think of. You're sitting there specifically to have fun. It's like the intensity of Mario Party with every single game that you play. And I know that you know what? Heck, Mario Party's a board game. The first 6 of those games are board games. They're just on video games.
Yeah.
But it's the intensity that you feel for someone stealing a star from you in Mario Party every turn of every game ever played ever. So like someone just messing with you on the worst degree ever, but it wasn't really that big of a deal. It's just a lot of fun to play with her and her friends because they all get very competitive very quickly.
You know what? Healthy competitive feelings are perfectly fine games.
Absolutely.
I deal with it at home as well.
Oh yeah. We gotta get I mean, next time that Sam may want to pee on strangers, we'll just go to your house and then we'll all play games.
Yeah. Sam loves strangers.
There you go.
I think I've explained on the show. Sam's the dog.
Sam is the dog. He's not some kind of weird person that pees on people. He's just a very happy dog that gets very excited.
Super excited. All right. So last up for me, I haven't gotten to do a lot of gaming this week. I've been off work, which has been great. I've been working on, as I've decided to call it, the board cave, the basement, basically. I've been doing a lot of construction work, basically. I did not invite Sean because of the warning he gave me last episode.
No, don't bring me anywhere. I can't construct.
But I did take advantage of a recent sale that Target was having, buy 2, get 1 free, which, strategically arrived right when Vanessa was getting home. So there was 3 large boxes sitting on the doorstep while I was working downstairs. So I went upstairs and found out what they were, and I received a couple of board games, 3 in fact. But one of the ones that I got to play pretty much right away because my daughters were very interested in it was Santorini. This is more of an abstract strategy game, but it's gorgeous. You are gods trying to build the city of Santorini on this island. And each player has 2 builders that they can move around. And normally the builders can only move 1 space in any direction, diagonal, orthogonal, whatever. So the idea is you move and then you build. So you build a base level of a building, and the building can go up to 3 tiers plus a dome. So it's a 3D structure that you're building all around this island. And the idea is to move your builders up and be at the top level, not with a dome on it. So you got to be 3 levels high. The first person to be able to do that, stand 3 levels high, you instantly win the game. It's very interesting, like how movement works. Like you can only move 1 space, like I said. But if you want to move up a tier, you can only go 1 level higher. So you can't just jump from the ground floor up 3 levels. You just can't do that. So you have to build like a staircase to get up there, essentially. If anywhere that you move, though, you can build. So if you're trying to get up there and your opponent can stop next to it and build a dome, so they could block you from being able to get up to that winning space. So it's extremely strategic, almost like chess-like here. You also, on top of this, just to make it a little bit more variable, you each get these god powers. So there's a whole deck of cards that you can shuffle up and deal out, and you get this. Each person gets 1 card, and it'll give you cards that god powers that let you break the game. These are all like Greek gods. So you got Ares and Artemis and Apollo and Zeus and all those characters, and each of them do a unique thing. Like Apollo, for example, lets you switch spaces with another player. So who's next to you? So normally you can't move through another player's space, but with Apollo, I can trade spaces with you. So if you were diagonal to the right of me, I could take your player, put him in my space, and I can put my person in the space that you were previously occupying. I think Artemis lets you move 2 spaces instead of 1. And then I forgot what the other ones do. There's tons of them in that deck. But it's really fun. I thought it was just a 2-player only game. Turns out you actually can play up to 4 players. The 3-player version, it comes with a third set of workers in a different color. And you're essentially playing the regular game just with 3 players. And then the 4-player version, you play on teams, where each person gets 1 worker and a unique power, and you have to choose who's going to go and use their, so that you can strategically use your powers. Haven't played it with 4, and I actually haven't gotten to play it with 2 yet, because like I mentioned before, when you have 2 children and you want to spend time with one and play a game, the other one has to do it too. So luckily there was 3 players option here. So my 4-year-old and my 7-year-old played this game. The rules are pretty darn simple, so my 4-year-old Evelyn was grasping the basic concepts pretty well. She was able to get down the movement and the building. Lily took it to fish to water. She was great. The only problem that I was seeing here was, like, my youngest daughter really just wanted to build. She didn't really care about winning so much. She just wanted to keep building. And Lily was trying to not necessarily win, but she wanted to keep the game going for as long as possible. So she just kept blocking me wherever to go. So basically, it became a 2-on-1 with a lot of chaos coming from Evelyn. But we played it a couple times. I think we played it 2 or 3 times last night, and then we played it again this morning. And honestly, I really like this game. I don't know if you've looked at pictures of it while I was talking, Sean, but it's gorgeous when you look at the way it's set up. And I've posted pictures on Twitter already about it. It came out 1 or 2 years ago. It was a Kickstarter, but now it's pretty much out at mass market. You can pick it up anywhere. And it's a beautiful game. I'm really excited to play it 2-player with Vanessa. I don't know if it's quite, her style of game, because I know she doesn't like chess that much. But it's not nearly as complicated with all the different types of moves like in chess. But those god powers add such a level of asymmetricalness to it that I really enjoyed it.
I'm trying to look it up right now on my phone just because my computer's not super agreeing with me. So I'm looking at the photos you excuse me, you had on Twitter. So I like the idea of the game, and I like the theming of it a lot. I would definitely want to try it out. That sounds super cool. I'm just trying to scroll through the Tweeter boards, and on the Jugal. Santorini, learn it in 30 seconds, play it for life.
It's super quick to learn.
Well, say if both your daughters could figure it out within a game, I would like to hope that I too could. Can I do what a 4 and a 7-year-old can do? Probably. I hope. But I like that the board is small, so it's you're right up on everybody immediately. It's not like you have a whole lot of time to kind of plan and strategize what you're going to do, because you have to build upon what everybody else is already doing immediately. So I do like that, just kind of taking a quick glance at photos and stuff like that. I'd be super interested in trying this out for myself with you guys.
Yeah. I mean, I'll bring it to the next game night. I'm just reading through the rules. I'm not super keen on trying the 4-player variant, but 3 has been fun. It would be interesting to play 3 with people who are dead set on winning instead of the dynamic that I have right now.
Yeah, but you just need it.
I mean, what I've been doing, I'm not pounding, trying to beat a 7 and a 3-year-old, so a 4-year-old. So please do not judge me, folks. I'm really, when I make a move or whatever, at first I let them see if they can figure out how to stop it or how to block it. Like once we get to that stage in the game, and it's really interesting. Like I'll look at them and Evelyn will be like, Daddy wins, and then Lily will like think about it some more. And even Evelyn at some stages, like she's like, oh, I could just go here and that'll stop you. Like they're figuring it out. They're learning the strategies. I'll set it up so that there's like 1 or 2 ways that they could stop me. This makes me sound way more clever than I actually am, but I just want to see what they, see how well their strategic minds are working, and they've been doing very well with it, to the point where like they've done moves that I didn't even pick up on. So it's really a fascinating game. If you like abstract strategies, but with a bling factor that is off the charts, this is a really good one. And it's not that expensive either, which is surprising considering the amount of plastic that's in this game.
That's awesome. I like this.
Plus, I like the board is actually on an elevated island. Like it comes with this huge, completely superfluous brown plastic island. Then you put the board on top of that, and it holds in place pretty well. So it's raised up.
Like you're playing on, like you're essentially building the city on top of this, island. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do. I was actually curious about that. I was like, is it really like a brown like rock thing you put the board on top of? Like it's a little excessive, but that also is kind of cool.
It just adds to the toy factor, the cool factor of it.
Exactly. So that's really cool. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing in between, putting up sheetrock and framing electrical closets and stuff like that.
As long as you don't let me touch any of it, you're good.
Yep. Luckily, I am going to a few conventions this weekend, so that'll be really fun. So I get to play some more games, and I'll have more stuff to talk about next episode.
I'm really excited to hear about that because I wish I could have taken another vacation so I could have also gone to the conventions, but I can't. I don't think it would have been very nice of me to do that on the schedule, to have us both gone at the same time to do a convention and just leave everybody else figure. Well, it's too late now, but it seems like not the right thing to do.
All right. Well, if you got nothing else, let's head over to our rules summary of our review game. You know what? I'm tired of doing the rules summary. How about you do it this time?
You know what, Zach? I'd love to. This rules breakdown is going to be for Scott Pilgrim's precious little card game by Renegade Games, just like every other review we've done lately.
We actually have this is 3 Renegade games in a row. We are not sponsored by Renegade, folks. This is how it happened. Although
brought to you by Renegade Games.
Renegade, if you want to sponsor us, I'd be cool with it. You got some great products out there.
Renegade, if you want to sponsor us, I love card builders. So deck builders rather. So let's just keep on getting this train rolling, guys and gals.
All right.
Scott Pilgrim's precious little card game by Renegade Games is a deck building game that combines resource management, combat, and finding true love. Each player takes control of a different main character from the Scott Pilgrim series, whether it's Scott himself, one of his friends, Ramona, and Knives. Like most deck builders, you're using different resource cards in order to purchase more powerful cards to add to your deck. Each character inherently has 1 or 2 different resources they specialize in. These different resources are romance, which is indicated by a heart, music, which is indicated by a guitar pick, work, which is indicated by a gear, and any resource, which is indicated by a multicolored wheel. Each of these different types of resources is used by each character depending on their personality. For example, Scott uses romance and music, while Steven Stills uses music and work, while some characters like Wallace can use any resource. In addition to standard resource cards, each character also starts with 3 drama cards. Drama is essentially the trash resource in this game that is negative for most players, but for some people like Scott and Knives, a little bit of drama is not a bad thing. It actually powers up some of their additional cards. either doubling their resource or making attacks more powerful. At the start of the game, one of the evil ex-boyfriends is chosen, and that determines the number of victory points which is necessary for winning the game. The main deck is split into two and placed on either side of the evil ex-boyfriend. These will be the draw piles for the remainder of the game. 6 cards are drawn from these decks, and that creates the plot line, which is where you'll spend your resources to gain better resources, buffs, and occasionally fight enemies. First phase of the game is the acquisition phase. Players take turns using their resources and their drama cards in order to purchase cards from the middle. These cards purchased will either be more powerful resources, victory points, or buffs for later on in the game. In between each player's acquisition phase, they can decide whether or not they want to do a combat phase. On the reverse of each resource card are different combat actions, signified by one of the 4 cardinal directions or an A or a B. These different combat cards can be strung together into unique combos that each character has on the reverse of their player card. The amount of damage done by each combo is also shown on the card. If any of the cards drawn during the combat phase are a drama card, for most characters that just is nothing. It doesn't do anything, unfortunately. For some players like Scott, it may power up one of his attacks. If the player is unable to perform any of the combos, they can use the cards individually to do 1 damage apiece. During the combat phase, you are able to either battle the evil ex-boyfriend, which if you can manage to defeat will net you a generous amount of victory points, or any of the randomly drawn enemy cards that would be placed in the plot line. When a card is eliminated from the plot line, whether by purchasing or defeating, it is immediately replenished from one of the 2 decks, up to the player's choice. During combat, various enemies have different fighting and winning and losing conditions. For example, Matthew Patel cannot be fought until his hipster demons have been defeated. Some enemies gain more hit points if the player to your left has additional drama in their hand, and some enemies like Gideon outright make you lose the game if you lose combat against him. After the evil ex-boyfriend is defeated and the appropriate number of victory points has been gained, you are declared the winner. These are just a basic set of rules for the game. There's a lot more nuance and strategy to it. But with these basic set of rules, you should be able to get an idea of how the game's played. So what do you think about those rules, Zach?
They were some rules. In
I'll
fact,
tell
they
you
ruled.
what, those rules ruled the game. So I mean, Scott Pilgrim is a series. I love the comics. I really like the movie. I really like the one video game they made for PS3 and 360. So when I found out that there was a Scott Pilgrim deck building game and that my brother wanted it for Christmas, I knew that I had to borrow it and steal it for a review, but also purchase it for my brother for Christmas. So I bought it for him so he could have it, so that way I could play it, and that is the Wheel of Board Games.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I'm not super familiar with the Scott Pilgrim franchise, but I was very excited that you were bringing a game to the table and wanted to review this. Like you approached me, like I think back in December, and you said, "Hey, this game's coming out. My brother's getting it. We're gonna steal it and we're gonna review it." I'm like, all right, let's do it. Like I needed something to fill February anyway, right? No, that's not how it happened. Well, it's sort of how it happened.
That's sort of how it happened. I mean, like I play games. I mean, I don't play nearly as many as you or Devin or Walt Chad kind of get your hands on. The other folks who are on the show more often or as often as I am. But I do love games. I don't always go out of my way to play a whole bunch of new ones, but when I love deck builders. I love Scott Pilgrim. So when I found out this was the thing, like I wanted to review it. So that I kind of, I guess, took the initiative on this one a little bit. But I mean, overall, like I definitely like the theme of the game. Like I like deck builders. I like that this one incentivizes not only obviously the obvious Dominion kind of part of card builders where you have to purchase new cards to get the ability to get more cards into your deck and all that kind of fun stuff, but there's also like a combat aspect to it. So after you do your normal turn, you can then kind of flip it around and then fight to progress against the ex-boyfriend or to get other cards that are going to give you victory points, which in deck builders at the end of the day, you need to get victory points to win the game. That's how all deck builders work, with the exception of Clank, where it is to get away. But even then, actually, you still have victory points. They just don't call them victory points.
I think what I found interesting about this, and it was both I liked it, but I don't like the way it was quite used, was the fact that the cards were double-sided, which was great. So you had that narrative area, I forgot what they called it, but that's where you were buying the cards from to add to your story, to your deck. And you'd shuffle up your deck and everything just like you normally would once you get your discard pile in there. And then on your turn, I really like that, you're pulling out your cards and, you were using them to buy more cards and just do different things, like tell a little story with it. It was kind of neat how that happened. What I didn't like, I liked that you then flipped over the cards and you had the combat side on the other side, which was fun. I didn't like that you had to draw more cards, and so they were random. And you flipped them over, and you didn't know what you were going to get for your combat phase if you chose to do combat. Maybe it was just because of the character that I played. I played Knives. Is that her name? Knives. Yes.
Knives Chow.
Yes.
Her defining characteristic is that she's 17.
Apparently. So I flipped over the cards, and okay, I'm like, all right, I got left, I got right, I got, A, B, or whatever the things were. And on your character card, it tells you, like, what her special combos were, which I thought was really cool. It reminded me of, like, back in the day playing Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I'm like, oh, I got combo moves. This is great. I never got the combos because for some reason, like, none of her cards combos used a left, or it was either left or right. I don't remember which direction it was. But she had cards in her deck, her base cards, that had that direction in it. I'm like, what the heck is the point of this? Like, it didn't go towards any of her combos. So I never pulled off a combo, and I don't think I won any battles, which was annoying to me. I think your brother, though, was pulling off some pretty sick combos, and he was just killing people left and right. So I know it's possible to do it. And so I like the mechanic. I think I just got hosed.
I think that's more to do with the character that you chose. So I was Scott when we played, and if you're going through to the more video game, embracing the more video game aspect of the Scott Pilgrim series, which that is a huge part of it, is it's essentially like it's like the real world, but it's also a video game, and that's why they had the button mashing and the combo cards and stuff like that. Scott is centered around being like a brawler. Like he's good at punching things. Like that's his whole thing. Like he punches good. So I had my 3 of my like 6 combos in my basic deck before I even bought anything. And then Ryan was Steven Stills, which is one of Scott's bandmates. He's one of the main. He's one of Scott's best. I think I guess technically he's Scott's best friend. So he also had a lot of combo cards in there, and like Ryan plays a lot of deck builders, like way more than either of us do. So he picked it up super quickly and eliminated a lot of his like trash cards right away. But yeah, he was pulling off some serious stuff. But with Knives, it was, I feel like you needed to be more deliberate with what cards you were going after when you were purchasing stuff. But since it was our first time playing, we were trying to kind of figure that out. There was no way for you to know like what you had to buy because we were trying to figure out how to play the game while we were playing the game.
Yeah, I thought about that afterwards. Like, I did like that there's, most deck builders that I played, there's one form of currency. Like, there's one symbol on the card that means this is your buy power. Like, when we played Venom Assault, when we played, Clank in Space, that's the word I'm looking for. There's a distinct, like, this is the buy power. In this game, there's multiple types of buying. You had, what was it, Heart and...
Yeah, so there was, there were 3 types, three types of buying, and depending on who you chose as your character would be kind of like what the currency you were trying to use was. So there was work, which was representative of a gear. There was music, which was a guitar pick, and then there was heart, which was represented by a heart. So depending on your character's personality, that would dictate what type of buying power was inherent in your deck, and also what types of cards you should buy. So it wasn't just the one currency type. There were 3 currency types, and most characters used 2 of those. But there were also some characters that utilized. So every deck builder always has like essentially like a trash card. So in Dominion or or in Clank or in any of these other deck building games, there's essentially always one card you start with that is either a 0 or a 1. But for some of the characters, that kind of trash card was a 0 or a 1. So for like you and I, we needed some of that. They called it drama. We needed some of that drama, but Ryan didn't need it. So he had to discard all of it, but we wanted some of it, but not too much of it. So I thought that was another cool dynamic thing, because that kind of brought in a fourth currency that was only relevant to some of the characters. So that added another dimension that's not necessarily in a lot of deck building games. So I thought that was kind of neat that they took that approach with the basic card that you started with.
Yeah, playing as Knives, I think she was centered around the heart, basically.
Yeah, hers was heart. Yeah,
the first hand I drew had a ton of that available to me for purchasing power, so I was able to buy. And I remember it being out. You guys were joking about it, like, "Oh, who the heck's going to be able to spend that much money?" Because it was like 8 heart to buy this thing. It was just victory points. But I'm like, I should have picked up on it. The fact that I was able to do that, like I should have just focused on victory point cards. Like, I feel like that's how Knives would win the game, essentially, is by, buying stuff, not by fighting. I guess I was just mistaken by her name, thinking that she would be able to fight more.
Knives Chow. She's 17. She doesn't fight. And I liked the theming for all the different characters and cards. I don't know, like it. I feel like it. If you are a fan of Scott Pilgrim, and if you like deck builders, I feel like you'll get more out of the game versus if you're just a normal hobby gaming enthusiast or just someone who likes playing hobby games. So if you care at all about the source material, it will add more, because the different looking at like the inside jokes from all the different cards you can buy, and all the way down to the theming of each of the characters and what you use for your currency to buy stuff. It's all so tied into the comic book. Like, if you've seen the movie, then like you'll get some of it, but if you've read the comics, like that's a whole other. It has a whole other thing to it. So, like, the three of us played. My brothers watched the movie. I've watched the movie, and I've read the comics. And have you seen the movie or no?
I saw the trailer.
So yeah. So someone who knows what Scott Pilgrim is, but not really.
Not really.
Like the whole thing was, there were so many references to the comic book that like I understood and I thought were so cool. My brother was like, "Oh yeah, that was kind of in the movie." So I liked the game a lot. I would definitely want to play it another 1 or 2 times to enforce that, and we would want to play beyond what we did, because they kind of set it up specifically so the first time you play is like kind of like a tutorial game. So we kind of half did the tutorial game, half did our own thing. But you need more victory points, and it becomes more difficult to win as you go through the different evil ex-boyfriends. The other 6. So we started off with Matthew Patel, who is the first one in the movie with the emo fringe and the fire and the pyrokinesis. So yeah, we started off with him, and it can go all the way up to Gideon, where like if you just lose, you lose. Like you're dead, you're done. Which I thought was a really intense way to kind of like, you challenge him once, and if you fail, the game is done, or your game's done.
I'm not saying I didn't like the game. There was a lot in this that, just mechanically speaking, like I said before, I could appreciate. I felt lost in the theme, but what this game did do was make me actually want to check it out. I've heard of Scott Pilgrim before this game, obviously. It never fit into my, time to read the books or watch the movie. I've heard good things about it, though. And some of the jokes in there, like, okay, this actually does look like it could be a lot of fun. So I might actually go check out the comic book. The game itself, I probably would go back and play it again. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think I would want to read some of the comics first so that I can appreciate the theme a little bit more, though, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. I would definitely recommend, at the very least, watch the movie. The first 40 minutes of the movie is like verbatim the first volume of the comic book. But at the very least, watch the movie so you get an idea of who these characters are. But if you can take the extra time, read the books, because it dives into a lot more of the relationships between the characters that you're not going to get in a hour and 45-minute 2-hour movie.
I think my mother would shoot me if I did not say the book is always better, so you should read the books.
Well, the book's more information, the already awesome movie, so it's obviously better.
Oh, and now my mother will be happy because I mentioned her on this episode. Apparently, she was mad because I didn't mention her in the last episode.
Does my grandfather realize we haven't referred to him at all, and they work together?
Yeah. I got yelled at by my own mother because I didn't mention her in my podcast. Because apparently I talk about her a lot. I don't know if that's true. Tweet at me if it's true.
Like, comment, and subscribe if that's
Yes.
true. And if not, you should also like, comment, and subscribe. So Zach's mother feels good.
So, what are your final thoughts on Scott Pilgrim's precious little card game?
I would. I like the theming a lot. I had fun playing the game with you guys. I would definitely want to play it another couple times to really get the feel of it. So I feel like Clank in Space was the only deck building game that I played where like I had it on the first go. A lot of the other deck building games rather that I've played, like I feel like you need to play 2 or 3 times to really get the feel of it. So I would definitely want to play this one again. But I like it. I recommend it. If you're into Scott Pilgrim and you're into deck builders, check out the game.
I think, from my final thoughts, I can't recommend this game unless you're a fan of this series. Because as someone who, like I said before, I've never read the books, I've never watched the movie, I have deck builders that I would rather play instead of this right now. If I were to go and read the books and watch the movie and really start to get into it, I would try this again. It's by no means a bad game. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. But to get behind the theme, I got nothing. So this is definitely one where you need to appreciate the theme in order to really appreciate the game more. But if you are a fan of Scott Pilgrim, you'll probably love this, especially if you like deck builders, because there's a lot of cool stuff in here to keep going.
Yeah, so I mean that's I 100% agree. If you're into the series, check it out. If you're not, then if you like deck builders and if you want to read a good comic or see a pretty all right movie, do that. Then play the game.
Yeah. So yeah, that wraps up this episode. I think. Cool announcements. Next month, almost all 3 shows will be on the same theme, I think. Our Board with Friends episode is going to be on Doctor Who. I forced Sean to watch it. I don't know if he's actually done it yet. But we're going to talk about Doctor Who, finally, on Board with Friends. And on this show, also Board with Friends, but spelled B-O-A-R-D, we're going to be reviewing, finally, the Doctor Who board game. So excited for this. Vanessa will be back. My mother will be on the show. She's our super special guest. And Sean, you get to take a month off.
No, I mean that's fine. Make sure you and your wife and your mother talk about the fact that your mother's on the show, because if you don't, she'll be upset she wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, I'll have to talk about her as like she's not there at first. That'll make her happy.
Second person.
Yeah. All right. I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah. All right. I'll catch you guys in April then. I won't be here next time.
Try to hold it in, buddy.
I'll be fine.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this show, why not check out some of the other projects on the And All the Nerdy Fun Network, including Critical Failure, a show where a bunch of people with absolutely no experience with RPGs decide to sit down and try Dungeons & Dragons. Or Board with Friends. It's a book club style show where we just discuss things other than board games, like comic books, movies, TV shows, just all sorts of pretty much anything, really. Also, check out our YouTube channel, In All the Nerdy Fun, where we're going to have video reviews of different board games. All the podcasts are available on there to listen to, and who knows what other projects might show up. If you really enjoyed this show, reach out to us on Twitter and let us know, @BoardWithFriend. Like us on Facebook, or give us an iTunes review, always helpful. Or head on over to our website, boardwithfriends.blogspot.com. Either way, thanks for listening.